from the combined newsrooms in Eugene, Roseburg, and Coos Bay. KVAL News at 5 starts now.
As we come on the air, a live look at the continuing battle against the devastating wildfires around Los Angeles. There are now 5 fires burning in LA County. Unprecedented, the worst fire in that county's history. And so far, we know at least 5 people are dead.
Hundreds of thousands of people have been evacuated, thousands of homes destroyed. Fire crews from across the country are descending on Southern California after a state of emergency was declared. Now, among those heading that way, multiple crews from Oregon, both the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office and ODF have mobilized crews.
Those fires continuing to grow tonight. The Palisades fire is the largest and most destructive. That's the first one we were aware of yesterday. Now closing in on 16,000 acres. It is 0% contained. The Eaton fire is the second largest. That's burning near the foothill community of Altadena. And then the Hearst fire is burning in Sylmar, located in the northern San Fernando Valley. The Woodley fire is burning in the Sepulveda Basin in the San Fernando Valley.
And while it is not seen on the map, there is now a 5th fire in the Angeles National Forest, being dubbed the Lydia Fire. That reportedly sparked this afternoon. It's around 50 acres. Now, Los Angeles County resources, of course, stretched very thin, relying on additional crews from across the country to respond, like we were saying. Now, that does include hundreds from Oregon.
The Oregon Department of Forestry announcing this afternoon they're sending 70 firefighters to assist. Now, this comes after the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office announced the mobilization of 12 teams.
Yeah, KVAL's Rigo Aguilera has more on those teams and their preparations as they set out to help battle the blaze.
4 wildfires are raging in Southern California. Now firefighters throughout Oregon are stepping up to help minimize the destruction.
The state of California has requested help from Oregon, which is fairly typical. We help each other all the time. We have a good relationship with California.
Coburg Fire Chief Chad Minter's strike team is one of the many heading to California after the Oregon State Fire Marshal mobilized crews.
We're sending about 60 fire engines, 240 firefighters, 12 strike teams down to California today. The units in this strike team are from Coburg, Eugene, Mohawk, Lane Fire Authority, and Junk City.
Officials say Oregon firefighters will likely be doing structural protection on the Palisades fire to help reduce damage.
When the fire is around structures, we can help with the structures out, protect the structures before the fire gets there, or help mop up fires or put out fires when they're established in homes or whatever it may be. Whatever assignment they give us, we'll be able to complete.
12 different counties are sending crews, including Douglas and Lynn County. The Oregon State Fire Marshal says the cost for sending these crews will be reimbursed by California. Reporting in Douglas County, I'm Rigo Aguilera.
Coos Forest Protective Agency also announced they will be sending a crew to help in that fight tomorrow. Now, winds were, of course, a driving factor in the growth of these fires, and more may be on the way.
KVAL's Chief Meteorologist John Mayer gives us an idea of those conditions. John.
As we continue to track out those major fires that are developing around the Los Angeles area, one of the big features here that we're focused on are winds, specifically those Santa Ana winds coming off of those higher elevations, very similar to what we get during wildfire season. Anytime we get those easterly winds off the Cascades, it's hot, it's dry, and that can be very dangerous, combined with some solid gusts to spread the embers. And there's a good chance that these winds still staying out of the northeast here, at least through this afternoon and evening, though those wind speeds gradually quieting down. That's some good news. Actually looking at a nice chance to calm down tonight into tomorrow morning, hopefully giving those firefighters a chance to make some inroads on those continuing fires throughout the region. Unfortunately, before the day is through on Thursday, more gusts expected to pick back up, and we're going to see those double-digit wind speeds. Certainly not as strong as what we've gotten used to, but it is still going to remain at least somewhat gusty all the way through the end of the week, and we're still looking at those winds coming off of those higher elevations, bringing that hot and dry air. And speaking of dry, humidity values have been way down there, single digits or into the teens, and that's not going anywhere either throughout the rest of the day today. Still some exceptionally dry air across the board. The reason these are the two big focal points for us, the winds, that helps to spread any of those stray embers. The dry air, that just makes all of that fuel that much more ignitable. That's why those fires can spread so easily. The good news here, as we start to transition through the end of the week, we begin to see a little bit of a rebound. Humidity values trying to bounce back up as we begin to get rid of some of that offshore flow, but we still got a ways to go. This is absolutely still a developing scenario with a lot of smoke out of these fires as well. This is a huge smoke plume coming down off of Los Angeles, and we're expecting to see some pretty thick smoke through the end of the week there in town as well. Just one more feature that those firefighters are really going to be contending with. For the time being, we still have that wide-ranging fire weather warning that's in place all the way until this evening, stretching throughout the entirety of Southern California. For now, there is still a long ways left to go on this. Still several fires that we're going to be tracking closely, bringing you the latest updates, especially as those Oregon firefighters start to make their way down, trying to contend with those spreading flames out there. And we'll continue to bring you the very latest updates as they come in.
We're asking you at home, do you know anyone impacted by the wildfires in California? Pretty split right now. Of course, so many Southern Californians now live in Oregon. A lot of people who live in Oregon at some point lived in California. Both you and I lived in California at some point. So I think a lot of people, when they see the maps, they really feel the connection to it.
Absolutely. If you want to take part, go ahead and scan that QR code on your screen or go to kval.com. Let us know if you know anyone. And I think the one thing about this fire is it's in one of the most beautiful places in the world. I mean, along that highway is remarkable.
Yeah, I lived in Southern California for 7 years. I spent a lot of time near that area and along Topanga Canyon Boulevard, which is what leads right up to Pacific Palisades. So I spent a lot of time out there, and yeah, beautiful, obviously beautiful homes, beautiful neighborhoods, but so many people that just are surrounded by that area. And then when we see, I mean, yesterday we spent so much time on the Pacific Palisades fire. Then when you see all these other fires all around Los Angeles, essentially, to the east, to the north, all around, it's like these are all places people, again, so many Oregonians know so well, from Pasadena, where the Ducks just played in the Rose Bowl, to San Fernando Valley. I mean, and a lot of people have lived there at some point, so.
Yeah, not to mention, John just was talking about the heavy winds. That is something we know all too well with the Holiday Farm fire.
Yeah.
That's what quickly spread that fire, and we saw the devastation with that, and they're being hit with the same thing. It's just absolutely devastating.
We know a lot of people from that area, up the McKenzie. This brings back a lot of tragic memories for them. So we're keeping them in our thoughts too as well, because this is affecting a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, President Biden did approve a major disaster declaration for California to clear the way for a surge of federal funds and resources. The Federal Emergency Management Agency also approving a fire management assistant grant to reimburse the state for its firefighting costs. The administration is sending 5 large air tankers, 10 federal firefighting helicopters, and dozens of fire engines from the U.S. Forest Service. The Department of Defense sending Navy helicopters, air firefighting systems, and water delivery buckets.
We're prepared to do anything and everything as long as it takes to contain these fires and help reconstruct.
Now, Biden says the declaration will allow survivors to immediately access funds to jumpstart their recovery.
And connecting with Congress, our federal delegation, Senator Jeff Merkley, saying today this is another example of why the western states need to work together to get more support for wildfire prevention and support.
So we have to have huge investments in what we can do in terms of defensible spaces and in forest management. I've been fighting for that in the Interior Committee. We also have to have huge investments in the ability to fight fires. And so far, we have had a big enough buffer that we have not run out of money and had fire borrowing that we had in the past. But with this level of calamity happening, we are going to hit that kind of space. Where everything in the Forest Service or BLM will shut down until we can pass more spending.
Merkley is pushing for a FEMA-style fund that specifically addresses major wildfires like the ones in California. He says that fund would be separate from FEMA's basic emergency accounts.